Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. This episode is a news alert. It's an action alert. It's a plea for you to pay attention, okay? No commercials. I'm not going through my sponsors. This is something I'm doing for Rough Grouse Society and American Woodcock Society. Brent and Glenn came over today, and the fundraising, this is the end of the fundraising, spring fundraising, and it's done at the end of this month, and there's all kinds of benefits you can get from it, all kinds of cool shit, a new shirt, Pike gear, coat, all that other stuff. Anyway, listen to this episode, and I don't care where you live in this country, do me a favor. Before you do anything else, look at the Rough Grouse Society and American Woodcock Society. We need to bond together. You know what? We don't need more anything besides good habitat and more advocacy. And I'm counting on you, my listeners, to help out with this because it isn't going to get better without us, and us is us. Hey, everybody, this is like a news bulletin. Now, it's not earthquake or a flood or a snowstorm coming. Well, there is a storm of sorts coming, right? I have Glenn Blackwood from the Rough Grouse Society in my kennel today and Brent Pike from our beloved Pike Gear. And this kind of came through from last Tuesday's. Brent, what did you guys call that? Your YouTube event you had?
It was just a Zoom call. You know, it was kind of a little knockoff of what you do but, you know, we broadcast.
Yeah, but you had intelligent people from RGS talking about conservation.
Yeah.
It was a virtual Birds and Brew.
Yeah.
To talk about our membership drive.
Right.
And some of the conservation projects, on-the-ground habitat works that we have going on across the U.S.
You had some of the foresters on and the marketing people on. And then at some point, I don't think I caught it, membership, and before I got off, I heard you say membership drive is going on, and then I texted Brent while he was live, and I said, hey, we should do a quick, because, you know, we don't want only so many people to hear about this. We want all of our listeners to hear about this, and we know we got a lot of passionate grouse hunters. So, Glenn, kick it off. What's going on with RGS? We need something. We need more members, more money, but that's always the case.
Certainly that's the case, but we are doing a spring membership drive. This year, we do two major membership drives each year, one in the spring and one in the fall. And our spring one will end on the last day of the month, which is this coming Friday, March 31st. And we partnered up with Pike Gear, who's now one of our new corporate sponsors. Brent and the boys there at Pike have been really, really generous with us, and we appreciate that. And Pike is giving away discount cards or
gift cards.
Yep. To when you become a member. So not only do you get a cool RGS swag, but most importantly, we've got a T-shirt out that is
and it's
kind
very
of brown
cool.
and orange. There, we'll get some images up there.
Yeah.
But that swag, but you get an opportunity to get a gift card from Pike Gear as well.
So kind of like you don't even have to spend any money. If you're going to spend some money, you get you get twofer.
Exactly.
You get some bang for your buck.
So we have a variety of levels, a $60 level, as well as $250 and other ones from there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do join, go to the rgs.org website and log in there. And then look in your inbox because after the drive ends, everyone will be getting their gift cards electronically.
Yeah, that ought to be a lot of fun punching all that stuff in fairly manually to do that. But we'll get them out to folks as fast as we possibly can.
You will sacrifice your time, won't you, Brent?
Well, my time and my buddy Dave. Yeah. Dave does a good job.
Okay.
Dave Heldman, give him a shout out to
Sounds like
Dave.
someone's getting this pawned off onto him.
So, but be sure to look for those gift cards coming electronically. We're going to send them out once and then go from there. But Pike joined as a corporate sponsor along with our other corporate sponsors that we have out there, and we're just excited with this partnership. We're excited with the membership drive. The numbers are really coming in. I think we're far enough out of the pandemic now where folks are really looking to engage on multiple levels. And if you're looking to engage for RGS this year or AWS, first and foremost, I'd send you to our webpage, roughgrousesociety.org, to our events page, and you can see a calendar of things coming up. We have banquets again for fundraising. We just had one Saturday night here in Michigan, in the Emily City area, the Robert Lytle chapter. Wonderful turnout with heirs of Mr. Lytle, the chapter namesake there. We had the big Pittsburgh banquet was last Thursday night, and we have banquets. The Rum River banquet in Minnesota is coming up on Friday night, the 31st. Still tickets for that. Shoots, Birds and Brews, Habitat Days.
Is Grouse Camp again? Is Grouse Camp coming up?
Coming up in
I want to speak on that for a minute. I think when
Wisconsin.
they invited me up to Wisconsin a few years ago, it was an amazing. It was an amazing event. I was trying to think, what if they just wanted me to go up there and glad hand and maybe do a podcast and tell my listeners about it. But they had this thing set up like a little one-day boot camp. They had a habitat room, and it wasn't optional. You went from the habitat room to the shooting area. You went to the bird biology area. And then you went to the woods, and you they literally turned you into a bird hunter in a day. Now, there was a little help. There was a bunch of RGS members that came with their dogs, and if you bought your Wisconsin hunting license, there was people out there that had shot a gun, had not shot a grouse or a woodcock, and were successful. And that huge bonfire at night. I mean, big enough for it was a huge bonfire. It was fun. And, inexpensive places to stay up there. I would tell anybody, get your membership now and sign up for that grouse camp if you've ever wanted to rough grouse hunt and woodcock hunt. That is one heck of an event. I think we should have one in Michigan.
Well, we're looking towards that. Gabe Stone out of Wisconsin runs that. And if you're interested in grouse camp, his, like all RGS emails, it's his first name, Gabe, G-A-B-E, and then stone at rgs.org. And he can get you the details on that. On another little seminar thing, we are doing some things with her Upland and doing a deal at Hillsdale College on the 22nd and 23rd of April. I believe there's still some openings there for ladies that want to get involved in shooting, wing shooting, and in the uplands. Again, kind of a 2-day seminar with conservation message seminars, dog handling seminars, again, firearm safety and shooting there. But back to grouse camp, I know you were there last year, Brent.
I was, yeah. I'm going to be there for the full 3 days this year, hopefully being able to help out a little bit more. Last year I was on my way out to Montana to go visit my son, and Gabe got a hold of me and said, hey, would you mind doing a little seminar on proper attire for the uplands? I'm like, absolutely, I'd love to do that. So I got out there and spent a couple hours chatting with folks, and you're right, Ron. Unbelievable opportunity.
They were the most receptive people you could ever get.
Well, I mean, it's just great. I mean, I've told people I've been a member of RGS for, 17, 18 years. I was a chapter president for 15 years, and I get, emails not only from Pike Gear, but, just personal emails when I was a chapter president, people saying, hey, I'd like to learn more about grouse hunting. You want to learn more about grouse hunting? Join a local chapter and go to the meetings, meet up with those. I mean, I met some great guys that are still personal friends of mine that we go hunting, at least once or twice a year together, and and meet up, and you can learn so much if you're a new person. Don't think that you can't give back because you don't know anything. Hey, bodies at these banquets, bodies at these shoots, bodies at these habitat days are huge things, and it's, you're not talking about giving up, 40 hours of vacation time to do this. You're talking about a meeting every couple months and, a habitat day once a year, a birds and brew, and it's fun. I mean, it's a great group of people and an opportunity to really get out there and learn about grouse hunting. And, there's, when we have our meeting, there's hundreds of years of grouse hunting experience sitting around that table.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot. I mean, I always tell people the best way to learn about how to grouse hunt is go out and get your boots wet. Get out in the woods and drive the 2 tracks and get out there and hunt. But meeting people that know what they're doing is unbelievable.
A little mentorship early on. Oh. The miles will pay off. But just learning where the food source is. And one thing that always stuck out of me was the salad, those trails that got the clover, that got the little greens. You're not in a bad spot probably.
Right.
Right? But picture yourself being nudist, walking down some trails, and you don't see, but you wouldn't know to look for it. You learn so many tips from those things.
Yep.
Can't teach you to shoot better, but there's very limited time to teach you to shoot better. But I mean, you'll feel like you've been in the end zone, as opposed to feeling like it's your first time on a scrimmage line and there's a tackler coming for you.
Right.
And you want, I've always said probably one of the worst things you could take a new hunter on is a really tough grouse hunt, and because you get hit in the face with sticks, you're climbing over logs. To go that on your own, you'd probably like, no, I must be doing this wrong. No, you might be doing it right. But to have somebody kind of teach you a little bit and show you a little bit, and you're right, there's probably nobody more that wants to share their knowledge than other grouse hunters. Maybe not their spots, but their knowledge, and encourage you, and take you along and show you stuff. It's totally different than prairie hunting and totally different than pheasant hunting. It's just a different animal.
Well, I think that is really, really true. I mean, there was a Birds and Brew in Grand Rapids last Thursday night. Brett was there, and I was there. And after it was over with, a group of us, I guess 8, went out and had dinner. And, the dichotomy from of individuals there and lifestyles, social, economic, from really drivers of a CEO, president of a manufacturing business to
a guy right out of college, first job kind of thing.
And really that discourse and sharing of information and how and when and why. We were all bird hunters there. Though we were in a restaurant, it would have been the same if we were on the tailgate of a truck. And, you take that one step further, and we talked about the Lytle banquet the other night. In Emily City, Michigan. And that's a great chapter, strong volunteers there. But what resonated and stepped out to me was also at that event, they had volunteers from other chapters. People from Saginaw came up, people from the Roger Moore chapter there. And this community is intertwined.
It's not chapter against chapter.
It is all of us looking for that main concept of habitat work on lands, both public and private, to manage young forests for wildlife. And I think the Facebook Live that we did with Pike last week that you still can find on the Pike's channel.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube
you just
channel.
can't ask any questions anymore.
Well,
question and answer period.
Well, you can ask questions, and we'll just respond to them that way.
Respond to them that way.
All right, hold that thought. Sorry about that, folks. We had a load of gravel delivered right in the middle of this podcast. But, Glenn, we were talking about how the chapters even overlap and work together for the same cause. And
certainly. I mean, I think we're seeing more and more of that in our habitat work across the United States, whether it's the Southern Apps or up in the Northeast or here in Michigan. I know, we've got a Habitat Day, which is coming up in April. The 22nd, I believe, is the day. And it's the Grand Rapids chapter, Brent's Muskegon chapter. It ties in with our stewardship agreement on the Huron-Manistee National Forest. So it's all of these partnerships that are coming together on that day to work together to bond, if you will, or trade ideas. And you talk about the number of years of grouse hunting experience that will be there. Those are, those habitat days are great for young people as well as older individuals. And, we're seeing a real uptick in those sorts of things coming out in 2023.
Is there a possibility that this is a post-COVID bonus that we kind of lost? We had a big separation there, and people remember that. And is there anything to attribute to that, or is it more to attribute to kind of the new plan a couple of years ago where, getting rid of biologists and hiring the foresters? Is it a two-sided? Do you know if it's both?
I think certainly from the membership side, and again, going back to we're in the middle of this membership drive, and it will be going through the end of the month for the Pike Gear gift cards. certainly people seem to want to get out and be outside and do more. You're seeing a lot of that across a lot of spaces, whether it's recreation or whatever. It's like we've got a Grand Rapids chapter. I keep coming back to that because this is where we are, or in Michigan. We're having a Woodcock walk, and on the 12th of April that sold out. 40 people.
Wow.
And it's there, so we're also going to do another one on the 19th. And you can get a hold of that off the RGS events catalog. But people are wanting to come to these things, learn these things. I think they're excited to be a part, to put in soft mash trees, or begin to learn the importance, like you talked about salad, of not only food, but also planting, whether it's spruces or cedars, for winter habitat and winter cover, especially for grouse, since our woodcock migrate. But people are engaged, and then when you hear the story of the work that we're doing across large landscapes,
that was exciting to listen to,
and the importance of it. The importance of that. I think we're really on an upswell or a high tide that continues to crescendo, and with all of our members' support, all of our corporate sponsors' support, this incredibly young staff of professionals that we have, and I think that's the most exciting thing. Hell,
You mean the average age is not 62.4 anymore?
I think I wear the hat as the oldest person.
Now you're the oldest.
Now I'm the oldest, at the organization. But really great young professionals in this outdoor wildlife habitat space, conservation space, and newer and younger volunteers that are taking the bull by the horns. So it's an exciting time for RGS and AWS, and we invite you all to take advantage of our Pikes opportunity by becoming a member.
Yeah, get yourself a card. But more importantly, don't get yourself key scratched by me in the woods when I see you without either. I'm going to raise the bar now. You used to have an RGS sticker on your truck. Okay, if you're leasing it, you don't want to scrape the sticker off. If I see you walking back to the truck and you're not wearing Pike gear, I might also key scratch your truck. Just saying.
We do not endorse that here at Pike Gear.
I know, we do. But I got Lisa Williams to go on. She was going to cut the tires if I did the key scratch. And I say this every time, and I say this because I think it resonates. Well, two things I want to hit. In fact, I'm so prepared today, I'm going to write a note. The two things I want to talk about, and the 1% and the gift. So when I first met Ben Jones, he came to my house in Virginia, and we went dove hunting. And for those of you who don't know nothing, Ben Jones is the CEO. He was the then new CEO of Rough Grouse Society. Young guy, just a hoot of a guy. And I didn't expect, I kind of expected an older guy, right? It's RGS. And here he gets this young guy, and he knows all about forestry and everything. And we're sitting down at the kitchen table, and we're talking dog stories. We're talking RGS story and his vision for where we're going to move this to. And when he said that they polled and found that 1% of grouse hunters are members of RGS, or it might have been, it was such a pitifully low number. I went on a diatribe for 5 podcasts. For God's sakes, at the cost of gas, at the cost of dog food, and we all, I never want anybody to put themselves in a financial bind for anything but conservation. If you couldn't find the money to be the membership, and just don't even go to the banquet. Don't even, if you're a grouse hunter, if you are taking a wild bird, you owe it to the conservation group that supports that wild bird. And if you consider yourself a somewhat passionate grouse hunter, and you're not a member of RGS, I just find it
appalling.
I get, in the worst, and we could even get worse, disgusting, appalling, poser, And I know there's some guys out there, and this is my rant. There's some guys out there like, well, I don't like the politics there, and I don't like what they did. You like the grouse, you like the woodcock. Trust the people who are working at it. It might not fit your lifestyle. You don't have to become. You could be a hermit grouse hunter. You should be a member of RGS. Period. In my opinion, I find nobody's ever come up to me with an excuse why.
Agree. I would agree 110%. I mean,
we talk about chapter involvement. You don't have to come to the meetings. You don't have to go to a banquet.
Nope.
You can just support in numbers, and they need that.
Absolutely.
They just flat out need that, and they need that when they go to Washington. They need that when votes come up. It is like I went for 20 years of hunting since I was a teenager in high school in Chicago. I wasn't a member of anything. I just went out and, this was open. I got here to Michigan, and I was like, we're going to hunt all this. And I didn't pay attention to the habitat, and I just don't want, like, one person to slip through the cracks and be like I was. And I didn't do it maliciously, but there was nobody out there telling me it was just, I met Jeff Peterman. He said, let's go grouse hunting. I was okay. He said, go pat hunting. I didn't know what we were going to go after the next day. He asked me if I had hip boots. I said, well, they're not real popular. I bought them years ago. He goes, no, hip waders. I said, oh, okay. No, I don't have any hip waders. You're going to need some. But I just find it drives me nuts that I don't care if you're the pheasant hunter in South Dakota that goes once a year to go to the strip club in Mitchell. You should be a member of PF and QF. If you come to Michigan, you go grouse hunting, woodcock. And then if you're a true conservationist, you're going to be a member of a lot of these groups. You really are. I know people who are members of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. They know more going to shoot an elk than a man in the moon.
Well, I think the message here goes back to habitat, communication, understanding that all game species need healthy forests, and healthy forests with different age classes. We think of rough grouse and think that they all need, young 12, 15-year-old aspen. Well, there are times when, especially during nesting season, that they need broader, more mature, more diverse food systems. What about getting through the Michigan winter? More shelter belts. So we need diversity in our forests.
And that doesn't happen naturally anymore.
Unfortunately, we need disturbances. And, I think that's where, coming out of COVID, you mentioned Dr. Ben Jones a few minutes ago. He coined the phrase "conservation isn't canceled," and it's kind of been our mantra the past few years. And it may seem a little old or stale now, but really, I think going forward, RGS and AWS is leading that pathway forward in the forest woodlot community, both in private and public sector lands. There's other conservation groups that do other things, but really in forest management, we are excelling across all the range where grouse and woodcock are, but a plethora of other species that take advantage from forest diversity in proper young forest management.
Yeah, it's super important. And you mentioned earlier about, and I'm not saying it didn't happen. Now, Brent, you've been part of, like I said, you ran a chapter for over a decade. You've been a member for almost 2. Did you used to have one chapter coming into your chapter and helping you, or was it a little more segregated back when you started?
It was definitely more segregated. I would say in the last 5 years, not to toot Glenn's horn for him, but when Glenn
it was
came,
a good point.
Yeah,
and when he came on board,
Glenn knows so many people in Michigan
because he's the auctioneer for all the chapters.
Right. I mean, he's donated his time and treasure long before he ever worked for him.
Right.
And so everybody kind of got to know Glenn, and once Glenn kind of grabbed the reins, it was just kind of a natural progression, And when Glenn wasn't Glenn's not afraid to ask you for money or for help.
That's good. Well, and, I mean, that's a good Johnny Appleseed. That Glenn knows all the chapters, and I'll bet you at a point there was like, hey, did you know Brent's having a chapter? And I could see that also going to the conservation organizations, I could be stepping on my foot here. I don't think it's a lot of projects, but depending on where you're at in the country, RGS does partner with PF in some areas, right? And PF partners with DU. So that's where I'm going to. If you're a PF member and you don't live in Grouse, we're all on one team here.
You know, and that's such a viable and important aspect to make, that we are working together across things, so that folks know that through the grant process, and we've just recently applied for some grants here in the state of Michigan, you know, we are working with Wild Turkey Federation
There you
on
go. Yeah.
joint projects and PF. There was just a meeting in the east side of the state here a while back where, you know, we looked at that with, you know, our forest conservation directors to build on those relationships, because there is, especially in the woodcock realm, because they do migrate and they do have, you know, a tendency or propensity for marshy or wetlands things to do other sorts or projects or tag team
Right.
or join forces for the betterment of the good, and really that's a strong part of what we
Which
see
I think
going
was
forward.
lacking 20 years ago. You know, it sounds like it. Like things were a touch more segregated, as opposed to
The world's a lot smaller now than it was 20 years ago, too.
Just from the
I mean,
just from
the internet.
communications.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that probably has something to do with it as well. It's just, you know, I mean, you know, I go out west and I run into guys, you know, that heard me on your podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
2 years ago I was up in the UP and I'm walking down the road and there's this kind of old beat up pickup truck and there's a guy standing there and I got about probably 40 yards from him and he looks at me. He's like, "Hey, I know you. I seen you on TV." And it was that show that you and I did with the Flush. We were grouse hunting years ago, and it just shows you. I mean, he was
Yeah.
from North Carolina or something like
Yeah.
that, you know. And I mean, it's just the world is much smaller, and you know, and unfortunately for our game birds, it's also putting more pressure on them.
Sure.
You know, so there's people know there's no hidden secrets anymore. I mean,
No.
you know, between Onyx and Northwind's maps and all these different things.
Oh, yeah.
There's you know the hidden honey holes aren't there. So you know what we can do? We can join RGS,
Right.
and we can make more honey holes.
Right.
That's why I tell people, it's like, listen, you know, the pie doesn't have to be X big. Let's make it
Right.
bigger. So, you know, there's more spots
Exactly.
for guys to go hunting. That's the way we conquer this problem. It's not to have less guys hunting.
It's like
or,
we have a lot of public land in Michigan.
Absolutely.
If you could turn another 10 or 20% of that over to future grouse habitat, we don't have to worry about a whole lot of stuff. But those things were like always stumbling blocks back in the day of getting a logging project going, right? I mean, wasn't that always almost a bureaucracy back in the day at some point?
Well, I think a lot of times when you're talking public land and aspects,
State forest, national
you've got
forest.
state and federal forest, you know, working through everybody's different programs. But you know, now we have stewardship programs pretty much across the state with federal Forest Service here in Michigan.
Right.
The Southern Apps, Nick B. Miller's doing great. We have the Daniel Boone National Forest, some things, the Wayne National Forest in Ohio, and the other ones, the Pisgah. So we are enlarging our footprint
Right.
in those aspects. But again, it comes back to, I think, communication and what you said, Brent. The world is smaller. You go back to our you know, virtual birds and brew that you can see on Pike's YouTube channel. You know, if you would have told me, and I'm, you know, the dumbest person that you'll talk to today, I'm just a country peddler. That
Well, unless my neighbor stops over.
But if we could sit in our own living room on our own computers or device,
Yeah.
and have 250 plus like-minded bird hunting people from across the United States gather for an hour
On 2 days' notice, basically.
on you know, and basically less than a week's notice,
Right.
10, 15 years ago, yeah, I would have said, okay, sure.
Right.
But we have that opportunity today, and I think that's one of the positive aspects that has come here as we continue to grow, the organization's doing a better job of communication, not only with Covers Magazine and Brittany Booth, our editor, in a traditional publication way, but also on social medias and with our corporate partnerships, reaching out, and it's only going to grow and expand more. So.
Yeah, I mean, I could just feel it in the last 3 years. It just in a year and a half of that was in COVID, right? I feel a different vibe. I feel a different vibe in the magazine even. Yeah. Like I've always bragged to people. I'm like, look, you're going to get into Dog World. You're going to get Pointing Dog Journal and Upland Almanac, and you're probably going to buy Gun Dog. On top of, if you join our, you get a damn good magazine. You really, really do.
Really magazine.
I'm not saying that to pump sunshine up the editor's skirt or pant leg or whoever's the editor, but it's like my favorite one. That's the one I will read. The other ones I kind of, no, I don't need to read about that breed of dog. I don't need to read about that breed. The Covers magazine is worth the price of admission. It really is. Yeah.
Thank you. We're real proud of that product.
Yeah, it is right. And I've told people, they're like, okay, I'm going to join. Or if you're listening to this and you got a dad or a mom or a sister or brother or kids, last 2 Christmases and birthdays, my kids get me subscriptions to RGS in their name. That's their gift to me. So when I go to Kelsey's house, I got something to read. When I go to Jesse's house, I got something to read. And because what do you buy your dad, right? I mean, they're in their 30s. I'm in my 60s. I don't need anything. Pike keeps me in clothes all the time. He just needs more socks.
Got them coming.
Good. And
those Pike socks are really nice. I
think he's looking for a free pair of socks.
No.
Got a whole bunch of them coming in August. Just placed a big order this morning, actually.
Good.
I'll write the check. They are really nice socks.
But so I've told people, look, if that's another way of donating, right now, for Father's Day's coming up, not too far away, tell your kid, if your kid's old enough to have a job, and they're like, Dad, what do you want for Father's Day? Say, get yourself a subscription. And I'm telling you, a lot of people did it. And I've said that to whatever group I'm talking to. And literally, now I go over there. There's Covers Magazine. There's Coil Forever Magazine. They do one for Christmas and one for my birthday, which are only 2 months apart. And I think that's a wonderful thing, That's my suggestion. That's
I think
Ron's
that's
tip of the day.
That's a great tip. I don't disagree at all. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's again, like you going back to what you said earlier. It's a small way to give back. I mean, $60. I mean, it's like, what is that nowadays? That's like 2 12-packs of beer.
Well, 2 cases depending on how expensive
Miller
the beer
Lite,
is.
yeah. These guys are drinking IPAs.
It's 3 cases of Miller Lite. IPAs, yeah, it's about a 6-pack and a half.
But no, in all seriousness, I mean, it's
membership's always been very inexpensive compared to the whole thing.
Value.
The value. Thank
Yes.
you. You saved
Value.
me there, Glenn.
Yes.
The membership with any group. I don't care if it's your local gym or it's a conservation group. The membership is so small compared to the value. You pulled me out of the hole on that one, Glenn.
Not a problem.
Appreciate that.
Vocabulary is one of my better, stronger
Well, right, and you
suits.
read a lot and everything. I used to have Glenn come over as the Upland librarian. Now he comes over here. He's like, come on, we got to make some money. We got to get some memberships going here. So let's just recap that. The membership is good. It's going on until the very end of this month, which
Till
is this Friday.
31st.
So by the time you hear this, I might get it out tonight or at least first thing in the morning. I'm begging, okay, I'm begging my listeners, if you have it in your heart to join RGS, join it. And show me your new membership thing. And come up to Michigan, I'll go grouse hunting with you. I don't know how we'll do it. If we get too many people, I'll just carry a camera.
We'll
But
figure something out.
I want people to understand that all these groups, Sportsman's Alliance, I'm a member of Sportsman's Alliance. They're fighting for us. RGS is fighting for forest. PF's fighting for grasslands. If we all support them, it's going to just be called one big thing someday. It's going to be called We Win, the We Win team. And we can make a difference, and you can make a difference by joining. It's schmaltzy, it's hokey, but damn it,
It's true.
it's true. It's just a membership. Like I said, it doesn't come. you could make if you're one of them guys like, oh, I like Sport Habitat, but I hate those junk emails. Unsubscribe from the email, but help. If you enjoy the resource, you owe it to the resource. And the grouse isn't going to come asking for money. He's going the other way. He's looking for habitat, right? And so we have to speak for the grouse. We have to speak for the woodcock, the deer, all this stuff. And that's why all these groups are just as important, and membership is that important. To get your wallet out, get your credit card out. You got 4 days to do this, and I don't want to hear any excuses.
Well, you got all year to do it, but now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to do it. Yes, you got all year to do it, but just do it.
I heard a great saying, I don't know, it was a month or so ago, a guy said, he's like, when's the best time to plant an oak tree?
10 years ago.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Second best time? Today.
Today, yeah. There you go. The best time to join the RGS was 20 years ago, so you could have lived the life that we've lived here hunting around Michigan. Second best day to join RGS is the day you listen to this program.
Absolutely. Ron, thank you so much again for your support and all this stuff. I mean, it's
well, it's near and dear to my heart, and I just this is an unabashed man crush on when a company has a leader like Ben Jones. It's very infective. It's very infective. The man's he's like a virus. He gets into your blood. You can't help but not see his passion, and that is what fired me up when I met him.
Well,
yeah.
I think there's a lot of us that see him as such a young, charismatic.
He's like Kennedy when he became president.
Conservation leader, in this space.
Glenn and I remember Kennedy.
Yeah.
As toddlers. We were toddlers.
Little kid.
But we remember the stories how this was the first young president.
Yes.
And it gave America wow, there's a young couple in the White House, So.
But no, Ben certainly, and I think, our growth, our successes, our partnerships, our agreements that we've accomplished coming out of I hate to go back to the pandemic, but what we've done coming out of the pandemic in the last 3 years.
It was way more than just getting chapters back on.
Exactly.
It was way more than just getting banquets started again. Way bigger. Way bigger. Is there links on your site to RGS, or should they just go to rgs.org?
Go to the roughgrousesociety.org website.
Yep.
And the great thing about that, and again, we're doing this in the spring and April. Tremendous amount of information there. We have our events page with all the woodcock walks, shoots, birds and brews, fundraising events coming up. We have our membership drive going on again that Pike is helping us out with the gift cards. But also we've got the woodcock migration map. So if you're wondering where birds are, there are birds all the way
it's
through.
Like flight. It's like track fighter for Delta Airlines.
Exactly.
Right.
Only a lot more interesting.
Only a lot more interesting.
And it's kind of interesting. On Steve Bodio's website, which Steve Bodio is a classic writer, and I come back to that stuff a lot. There was a thread about that in our Woodcock tracking website here last week, and the gentleman was from Quebec who had posted it, and that he hadn't seen birds, but he had heard birds the next evening.
Really?
In Quebec. So, I guarantee you they're in Michigan because Whisk found a couple 3 yesterday. So.
Well, I know the robins are in my backyard, which usually means the woodcock are back. Real quick wrap up. Anything new in the dog world for you or Brent, guys? Or same from last year?
Same for me. I've got
no new pooches coming.
I'm working on I'm working the long plan right now on my wife to try to get a dog for next year. So I got 14, 10, 8, and 3. So
That's the ages right now?
That's the ages,
14,
yeah.
10, 8, and 3.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I know. I mean, I'd like to be down to.
But 14, you can kind of take off.
Yeah, she's
not going to be a giant asset.
No.
If at all.
My 10-year-old will probably be done after this year as well too. She's got she doesn't have real good conformation on her. My 8-year-old's a good solid dog, and my 3-year-old's a good solid dog.
Got a lot of future.
So. Yeah.
And Glenn had the funniest story ever about getting a new dog when your wife told you.
Oh,
about, I mean, could you repeat that story? Because I think it's the way to cap this podcast off.
And the funny thing is as how many people have stopped me on the street or emailed me after I told it the last time. But,
Well,
I've got 3 spaniels. We've got a retired dog named Laurel who's 15 and a half, 16, and she's still with us, thank goodness. She's just a really
But she's just
good
hanging
breed,
out.
But she's just hanging out.
Yeah.
Sleeping most of her time.
Yep.
And then we've got the Bosco, the black cocker, and we got that little Whisk dog. So
And Whisk is also a
Whisk
cocker.
Is also a cocker, a little liver and white one. But last time I was here, I was talking about, it was a little before Christmas time, and we were talking about Christmas gifts. And I've got this chair, my reading chair, and it's a nice chair. And that...
kind of like your favorite thing, right?
Yeah. And I said, but, maybe for Christmas I could get a little wider chair because that way I could have one cocker on one side and the other cocker on the other side. And my wife just looked at me and said that I didn't need a new chair. I just needed to lose weight. So, if you want both dogs with you,
we don't
need a chair. No, you just need to lose weight. So, But the number of people
I
that,
love that.
reached out after that.
I've told people that, like, I use it as like my own stand-up line. Yeah, the other day I was downtown and I told a guy, my wife said, "You don't need a new chair. You need to lose weight." And I wasn't even bringing dogs into the story.
Oh yeah. So fortunately, I have lost a little weight.
That's good.
With my new lifestyle approach,
yeah, you're hanging out with a young RGS. The old guy's got
young RGS.
So you got to match the youth.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Hey guys, thanks for coming over. And like I said last time, go to rgs.org. Do your membership now before the end of this month. Please do me a favor. We are one big family here. I don't care where you live in the country. You call me up, I'll join your group. I'm joining the Sharp-tailed Grouse Society.
Yes,
I'm joining the
Wisconsin
Prairie Grouse Society. I got a whole list in the house. Told my wife to start getting some shit done. I said, because I'm telling everybody to do this, I can do it too. And am I ever going to, well, I do hunt some prairie grouse, but I don't live in that neck of the woods, right? The few sharp-tails we have here, you can get I'm going to support those groups. I just think like we just need one big giant clearinghouse. And then eventually, we got her. And then we'll work on everything else. Then we'll work on the rest of the world's problems. Right now, let's fix it for the birds. All right, guys. See ya.